series of destructive, severe thunderstorms packing hurricane-force winds, torrential downpours, and intense lightning strikes has battered the greater Austin area and Central Texas, leaving a trail of widespread infrastructure damage, massive power outages, and at least one confirmed fatality. The National Weather Service, NWS, has officially placed Austin and its surrounding counties under a comprehensive flood watch through the upcoming Memorial Day holiday weekend, warning residents that the atmospheric instability triggering these violent weather systems remains highly volatile. Local emergency management agencies, utility crews, and first responders are working around the clock to clear debris, restore power lines, and secure damaged structures while bracing for subsequent rounds of heavy rainfall. The severe weather system swept through Central Texas with sudden, explosive force. Characterized by meteorologists as a line of severe convective storms fueled by high humidity and an unstable air mass, the front unleashed straight-line winds clocking up to 61 miles per hour, with some localized microbursts pushing even higher velocities. The violent straight-line winds acted like a scythe across Austin's urban canopy, snapping ancient live oaks, splintering utility poles, and severing high-voltage overhead distribution lines. At the peak of the tempest, Austin Energy reported that over 15,000 customers were plunged into darkness simultaneously, as major substations experienced automated trips to prevent grid-wide damage. Neighboring energy providers, including Encore and Bluebonnet Electric Cooperative, reported thousands of additional outages in Travis, Williamson, and Hayes counties. Heavy damage to regional distribution lines meant that even as crews isolated faulted lines, secondary circuits continued to fail under the weight of falling branches. Utility crews have been working continuous 12-hour shifts. However, the sheer volume of downed lines combined with completely blocked roadways has slowed down the physical replacement of utility poles. Officials warn that some localized areas might experience prolonged outages extending well into the weekend. In North Austin and the surrounding suburban communities, the immense pressure of the winds caused significant structural failures. Multiple gas station canopies were completely sheared off their foundations or collapsed entirely onto fuel pumps below. Commercial strip malls suffered exterior facade damage, and several residential complexes reported blown-out windows and compromised roofing. The volume of water dumped by the initial storm cells overwhelmed local drainage networks. In the Berry Creek Drive area, torrents of runoff eroded the structural subbase beneath the asphalt, causing sections of the roadway to crack, sag, and cave in. This has forced transportation authorities to implement indefinite emergency road closures to prevent vehicles from traversing unstable pavement. In the city of Pflugerville, just northeast of Austin, local police departments and emergency crews were forced to completely seal off primary arterial routes. Major thoroughfares, including East Pflugerville Parkway and North Heatherwild Boulevard, became completely impassable due to a hazardous web of live, sagging, and snapped power lines draped across the lanes. The most devastating outcome of the severe weather front occurred in central Austin, illustrating the lethal nature of the high wind event. A man lost his life outside the popular Green Mesquite BBQ restaurant when an enormous, mature tree was uprooted by a sudden gust of straight-line wind. The massive trunk fell directly across the outdoor area, trapping and fatally injuring the victim before emergency medical services could extricate him. Local authorities have cited this tragedy as a sobering reminder of why residents must remain indoors during high wind warnings, away from large trees and temporary outdoor structures. While the initial high wind threat has passed, meteorologists from the National Weather Service, NWS, Austin/San Antonio office emphasize that the danger to Central Texas is far from over. The region is now transitioning from a wind damage event to a prolonged high-risk hydrological hazard because the initial storm completely saturated the topsoil across the Texas Hill Country and the Austin metropolitan area. The ground has lost its capacity to absorb additional moisture. Any further rainfall will immediately become surface runoff, spilling into local creeks, rivers, and low-lying urban streets. The official NWS flood watch is active from Friday night and will remain strictly enforced through Monday evening, covering the entirety of the Memorial Day holiday weekend. Computer forecasting models project widespread additional rainfall amounts of 2 to 5 inches across the watch area. Isolated pockets could easily see up to 6 or 7 inches if slow-moving storm cells stall over specific watersheds. Meanwhile, a series of severe thunderstorms unleashed torrential rainfall across Central Texas, triggering catastrophic flash flooding in the historic Village of Salado. The storm system, which stalled over Bell County, dumped nearly 5 inches of rain within a few hours. This sudden deluge overwhelmed local drainage systems, causing the Salado Creek to breach its banks and submerge critical infrastructure. Emergency management officials have issued urgent safety warnings as municipal crews work around the clock to assess the widespread damage. The weather crisis began when a slow-moving atmospheric disturbance collided with moisture-rich air from the Gulf of Mexico. This alignment created perfect conditions for training thunderstorms, a phenomenon where multiple storms move over the same area in rapid succession. According to local meteorological reports, the intensity of the downpour reached up to 2 inches per hour at its peak. This volume of water immediately transformed local roadways into fast-moving rivers. Salado Creek, a defining geographic feature of the village, rose exponentially within a very short time frame. The rapid swelling of the creek caught several residents off guard, particularly those living in low-lying areas and adjacent to the historic downtown district. As the water spilled over the banks, nearby parks, walking trails, and residential lawns were swallowed by the muddy, debris-laden torrent. The most immediate and visible casualty of the flash flooding was Salado's transportation network. Village officials and local law enforcement were forced to enact emergency closures on several critical river crossings to prevent motorists from being swept away. The Southridge Bridge, a vital connector for local traffic, was completely shut down after floodwaters rose above the structural decking, making transit impossible. The historic Chisholm Trail Bridge area was cordoned off as the roaring Salado Creek crested well above safe thresholds, threatening the structural integrity of the crossing. The upscale Mill Creek subdivision experienced severe localized flooding. Multiple access roads leading into and out of the neighborhood were rendered impassable, effectively trapping residents in their homes until water levels receded. Debris, including uprooted trees, limbs, and displaced outdoor furniture, floated down major thoroughfares, creating secondary hazards for emergency vehicles. Heavy machinery and vacuum trucks were deployed by the Public Works Department to clear blocked culverts. But the sheer volume of water limited the effectiveness of early mitigation efforts. In response to the escalating crisis, the Village of Salado municipal government activated its emergency operations protocol. First responders, including the Salado Volunteer Fire Department and Bell County Sheriff's deputies, increased patrols across the affected zones to monitor rising waters and assist stranded individuals. Dangerous flash flooding has struck the city of Killeen, Texas, and surrounding Bell County areas, following an intense wave of severe, torrential thunderstorms that swept through the Central Texas Interstate 35 corridor. The National Weather Service, NWS, issued a series of urgent flash flood warnings as consecutive storm cells dropped multiple inches of rain per hour onto already saturated local soils. The sudden catastrophic deluge rapidly overwhelmed localized municipal drainage systems, transforming major thoroughfares into fast-moving rivers. Local police, fire rescue teams, and emergency management officials have entered a state of heightened mobilization, barricading low-water crossings and strongly urging residents to completely halt non-essential travel. First responders and municipal crews have erected barricades across several key zones where floodwaters have reached critical depths. According to active field reports from local emergency services, multiple vehicles have already become stalled or fully submerged. Motorists are strictly warned against navigating highly hazardous locations, including Elms Road. Portions of this major arterial road are deeply submerged under feet of rushing water. Striking eyewitness accounts and local media footage show several abandoned cars completely swamped by the rising torrents. Watercrest Road, declared entirely impassable by local law enforcement. Runoff from adjacent concrete corridors has turned this stretch into a severe hazard zone. Atkinson Avenue. Active street flooding has breached the curbs, stranding several motorists who attempted to cross low-lying dips. Stallion Drive and Tiger Lane. Intersection. Severe drainage backup has filled this intersection with deep, slow receding standing water. Woodrow Drive and Alita Street, blocked off entirely by emergency personnel due to structural risks and high-velocity current. Bunny Trail and Tatanka Drive. High water markers have been completely submerged, creating an invisible and deadly trap for unfamiliar drivers. 3,900 block of Robinette Road. Residential drainage ditches have overflowed, threatening local properties and making the asphalt indistinguishable from the surrounding terrain. Bachelor Button Drive reports indicate severe pooling with water levels creeping dangerously close to vehicle chassis. Willow Springs Road, a historically vulnerable low water zone that has been completely overtaken by nearby creek overflows. Meteorologists note that a severe mesoscale convective system combined with a strong southwesterly atmospheric flow, setting up a fire hose effect directly over Bell County. This atmospheric alignment trapped heavy, localized downpours over Killeen. This dangerous setup has forced the city of Killeen government to remain on high alert. While the region has fought off varying stages of exceptional drought over the past few seasons, the sheer volume of precipitation falling within a narrow window has precluded any meaningful absorption by the landscape, shifting the environmental crisis from agricultural drought directly to urban flash flooding. The City of Killeen Public Works Department and local emergency management teams are actively monitoring low-lying urban sectors, sub-watersheds, and structural blockages. Runoff tracking indicates that regional drainage networks are operating at maximum physical thresholds. Municipal leadership has established an immediate protocol for reporting infrastructure failures, rising waters, or debris blockages that exacerbate structural flooding. Residents are directed to contact the Public Works Department directly at 25-4501-6319 to route immediate rescue or clearing assets to affected neighborhoods. Concurrently, first responders are operating under extreme caution. High water rescue vehicles and boats have been staged at strategic nodes throughout Bell County to ensure rapid deployment should residential areas require forced evacuations, or if motorists remain stranded inside compromised cabins. Local authorities emphasize that public adherence to basic survival and traffic safety directives is the single most effective tool to mitigate the risk of injury or death during an active flash flood event. Statistics from federal safety agencies indicate that over half of all flash flood fatalities happen inside vehicles. A mere 12 inches of swiftly moving water possesses enough hydrostatic force to float and displace a standard compact car, while 18 to 24 inches can easily sweep away large trucks and SUVs. Driving around town-placed barricades is a violation of state traffic laws and a threat to life. Rushing water frequently erodes the structural base underneath asphalt roads. A surface that appears shallow or stable can collapse entirely under the weight of an oncoming vehicle. Flash flooding is uniquely lethal after sunset, as low water crossings and deep accumulation zones become completely invisible to the naked eye until a vehicle is already floating or swamped. Because weather patterns change rapidly across the Interstate 35 corridor, residents must monitor live highway substructures, closures, and state-managed roads via the official Drive Texas platform.